It's time for a deep dive on University of Portland basketball. The inside story on the Pilots. This is Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show is brought to you on 910 ESPN Portland by employee-owned Bi-Mart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by PlaySmart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Now here's your host, Jason Bro.
Monday night coaches show here at the new Pilot House on the University of Portland campus. Excited to be here and looking back. We'll start off by looking back at this week, but a reminder to all of our listeners out there, feel free to call in with questions or comments for Coach. You can give us a call at 503-542-0910 or on Twitter, use hashtag AskCoachRev. And Coach will look back, a good split last week, got back into Portland. You're going to be in Portland, maybe not at the Child Center all month, but it seems like we're going to be here, get some home cooking for a month, which is great. And as we look back first, rivalry match, River City rivalry last Wednesday at Portland State. Pilots come out with a 78-72 win. What did you like about that performance?
Well, like you say, I love first the fact that it was just across town here and just drive down to downtown Portland and have the game there and to keep our guys sort of in Portland, like you say, for December is fantastic with all the kids in dead week now and finals week next week, and so it's a grind right now. And but our guys came out with great energy, and it's always a good game. It's a good rivalry game. They've got a very good basketball team this year. They got a player named Forte that's an undersized post, finished around the basket, really tough matchup, and we did some things to disrupt them. I like that a lot. Really, this team has done a really good job adjusting to game plans. We did on the weekend too against Boise State, making teams go to Plan B and Plan C. We've done a nice job of that, and Portland State was no different. Alec Wintering had a big game. Jason Todd stepped up and made some shots. Philip Hart was flying around, blocking shots and rebounding, and it was just a good basketball game, a great team effort.
And I think when you talk about the team effort defensively, you mentioned Forte, one of two big-time high major transfers that were on the Vikings roster this year. Forte from Georgia, Kalen Robinson from Arizona State, and you were really able to neutralize. I mean, Forte got his numbers at the end of the day when you look at it, but he really had to work hard for it. 6 for 16. You made him earn it at the free throw line, 6 for 13. He did get 15 rebounds, but had 4 turnovers. Going into it, what was the game plan to kind of neutralize him?
Well, I was in charge of the free throw line defense, so I worked a lot on my free throw lane line defense. That's why he shot 6 for 13, so I'll take credit for that. And, you look at his numbers, now you're exactly right. He had to work at it, and if he makes his free throws, he has a better line, and that was one of the risks. We recognize that he really needs to score around the basket, and so our post job was to stay in front of him. He's coming at you, but he's like a running back hitting the hole. I mean, he's just so hard. I mean, I don't think you can keep him in front of him by yourself, and so when he spun and everything, he always found somebody there. Philip got him a couple times with his height early on. Ray did the same. But once he got a slight angle on you, he did a great job of finishing and making plays once he settled down. And we turned them over a little bit, and that was good. But at some key times. But it was a pretty well-played basketball game on both sides. And I was really pleased with the rebound, with our effort. The rebounding was one thing where they really crushed us on the boards, hitting the offensive boards. But overall, our field goal defense was really good. Held them down there, and like I said, it was just a good atmosphere. And they came back and made a push, and you like to not see that happen, but our guys sort of just took it in stride and made some plays, and it was a really good clutch win on the road.
Individually, you mentioned Philip Hartwich a couple times, a big 7'1" center, just a sophomore, played limited minutes as a freshman, and that was by far his best game collectively. What do you think clicked for him on Wednesday over at the Park Blocks?
I think, he's a really good athlete. I actually, was reminding him of that today. I think, you sometimes put him in a box as a 7'1" guy, but there's not a week goes by without our conditioning coach, Brad Scott, to come over and to the office and comment about Phil and his movement. I mean, he kind of wows Coach Scott with his athleticism every week. And and he just really just played loose and free, and it was great because his mom was in from Germany, and she was leaving the end of this week, that last week, and so it was the last game she got to see. And the funny thing is the contacts. His eyes in Texas. We noticed his eyes he was having trouble. I noticed he was having trouble reading the TV from across a small room, and I talked to him about it. We checked his eyes out. Long story short, he got new contacts that day. So we were teasing.
It helps to see.
Yeah, hey, that vision thing's not overrated, but so we were joking about that, but. He's got some energy. He's got some athleticism. When he plays with energy, he can be pretty impressive, and we need that from that center position.
What do you think that next evolution for him as a player is in terms of consistency? We've seen some sparks where he'll get 6 blocks in a game. He played really well against some tough interior opponents against Portland State. What's from a coach's perspective, the evolution of him in terms of the next step he needs to make?
I think it's playing with that consistency all the time. You see him sometimes. He's an inexperienced player. He didn't start playing till late. He played team handball in Germany at the national team level, so he's a very good athlete, competitive. But he hasn't played basketball that many years relative to the other guys. And I think just him settling down and getting a feel like you'll see him jump to block someone's shot when he almost maybe doesn't have to jump. Timing of rebounds and stuff, and some things that he's getting a better feel for. But he plays so hard, he runs the floor, and I think what we're looking from him and all the other posts is to provide that defensive presence on the interior and that interior scoring when the opportunity presents itself. Coach Pfaff talked to the guys today about our motion, and we recognized that there were a few things that we were missing in our half-court offense, and one of them was our posts. We're not going to play through the post with this group, but we got to capitalize on when teams are giving us a good high percentage shot there. And so I think some of the times when you see them doing better, quote unquote better, and making some shots, it's us getting the ball to them at the right spot in the right time. It's not anything they're doing. So you talk about the next evolution. Some of it has to do with the team doing a better job of understanding when and where to get them the ball so they can be in position to score. Phil and Ray and Colin's doing a great job as well. Are really good at finishing down there and passing if necessary. And so we need to take advantage of that and have that be a part of our offense.
University of Portland Pilots Coaches Show with Coach Eric Revenot right now. Give us a call at 503-542-0910 or tweet us using hashtag AskCoachRev. You also mentioned Jason Todd, and Jason Todd's kind of one of those glue guys who does a little bit of everything, but it's kind of funny when you look at his career stats over his first year, just a sophomore, first year in a few games right now. He's shooting the 3-ball really well, and that was he had a couple big ones at Portland State. 4 for 4 from beyond the arc, hit a clutch one late after PSU closed the gap. What's working for him? 14 points, career highs in back-to-back games, Southern Illinois and Portland State. It just seems like the offense has been pretty consistent there.
Yeah, what I honestly think what works well for Jason is what always has worked well for Jason, and that's playing as hard as he can and just doing what he can to help his team win. It sounds cliche or whatever, but he really just plays that way. If he's thinking selfish things in his mind or worried about his points, it doesn't show, and so he doesn't take bad shots. And so you never see him force up a shot, maybe late in the clock if he has to, but you can't think of him taking a bad shot. He makes the extra pass. He's one of our better screeners, and he's going to the boards well, and competing on the glass really well last couple games. And so, he's doing a very nice job. Defensively, he's versatile as well, but offensively, he's worked on his stroke. He's got a lot more confidence in it than he did 12 months ago at this time, and facing the basket and stuff. And so he's really comfortable. He gets his feet set, and and he just catches it. He knows he's knocking it down. He's doing really well. So, it was a big game, and those threes he made at Portland State. I don't know if they were daggers, but they sort of gave us some separation that we needed.
Yeah, definitely some clutch shots there. We're here with Coach Revenot on the University of Portland Pilots campus at the Pilot House. We'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll look back at the Boise State game, meet the new voice of the Pilots, and look ahead to some key games coming up. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
What if there were a place where you could become your best self? to become not just what you want to be, but who you want to be. At University of Portland, we inspire innovators, entrepreneurs, leaders, difference makers, people with the smarts to succeed and the heart to know what success really means. University of Portland. Rise.
B-Dubs presents B-Dubbing.
This is it, folks. Everyone's on the edge of their
stools for Appy Hour at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Here's the snap. He drops back.
For great deals.
And throws.
A domestic draft.
Smith snags.
$4 shareables like street tacos and Southwest loaded chips.
What a throw. What a catch. What a...
Appy Hour.
Experience Appy Hour at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Participation and offers vary. See a participating location for details. Void where prohibited.
You've heard me talking about the incredible offers going on at Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville. Let me introduce you to one of their customers and have them share their experience.
I kept hearing that I could lease a pre-owned 2015 C-Class for $299 down and $299 a month. I had to find out for myself, so I went to Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville, and I had such a great experience, and because it was such an amazing deal, I bought one, and I love it.
Right now, at Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville, you can lease a pre-owned 2015 C-Class for $299 down and $299 a month for 36 months.
My name is Lori, and I am now a loyal customer of Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville and the new owner of a beautiful 2015 C-Class.
Go experience their hospitality and see why, since their local ownership, Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville has sold more new Mercedes-Benz vehicles than any other dealership in Oregon.
Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville. It's time to drive the car that you've always really dreamed of.
Total monthly payments equal $10,764. Restrictions apply. For work qualified buyers, please see dealer or call 855-862-2999 for complete details.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Back here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus with Coach Reveneau, talking Pilot hoops and looking back at that Portland State win, looking also back at the Boise State win. But before we do that, we'd like to introduce a new voice of the Pilots. Has done a nice job the last couple games filling in for Bill, and we're looking forward to having Jason Swigard on the call for majority of the rest of the year. We'll have to fill in a couple games, but really appreciative of Entercom and Tim McNamara, Jeff Austin, and it's great to have a familiar voice around the University of Portland. You've been in the business for a long time. You've been at Entercom. Most people are going to recognize your voice from ESPN 1080 The Fan, but welcome to the University of Portland. Why don't you give the fans and the listeners just kind of a little insight into your background and how you got here today?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Jason. You have made this transition as smooth as it possibly could be, considering the situations, and a big thanks to Coach Reveneau and all of his coaching staff. You guys have just welcomed me in and made it very easy to get in as I'm trying to get caught up 6 games into the season. But no, obviously I've been with Entercom and The Fan now going on 13 years. Mm-hmm. After a previous life, I graduated from the University of Puget Sound in the class of 1993 with a business degree, and thought I would go conquer the business world, and very quickly woke up one morning and said, I can't do this for 30 more years. So it was, how do I get involved in sports, having grown up with sports, playing and having it be a part of my life, and was able to get hooked up with Mark Amazon, who was at that time the afternoon drive host at The Fan, with sort of an internship apprenticeship deal, and talked my way in the building basically. And 13 years later, I'm the executive producer, and started with Isaac and Suk. We started that show together in the afternoons. I was producing for them, and but I've been calling high school football games and basketball state tournaments and play-by-play for the last 10 years, hosting golf shows on Saturday mornings when it's off season, and so it's just been it's been a blast. And time flies. It's hard to believe I've really been there for 13 years. So.
Yeah, no, I've been in my seat for 13 years here at the University of Portland, which is crazy to think about. So you got a business major and me being an accounting major. I don't know how we got here, but we're happy we're here. And you got to call your first couple games. Portland State was a fun one, and Boise State. And, Coach, as we look at the Boise State game at the Chiles Center, it was kind of what we expected, a fun game that was really entertaining to watch. It just really came down to the last few minutes. Boise State was able to make a few more plays down the stretch, but an NCAA tournament team 2 out of the last 3 years, returned with a lot of experience, and maybe did that experience kind of shine through down the stretch?
Most definitely. I think, first of all, that it was a game as we had anticipated. They were they were ready to go. They made a starting lineup change 12 minutes before the game, and we we're going to start with the certain matchups and do some interesting stuff. We were kind of excited about trying have Jason actually guard their big fella, Duncan 13, and who the heavy set big shooter, and move some things around. Instead, we switched to a zone, and it really threw them off a little bit. And we got out to a good lead, but like you say, that first half, that experience showed where they settled down, started making shots, doing what they're capable of doing. Alec Winter was very good, getting to the basket, making shots, making others better, and playing a good game like he has been. And we were back and forth, and there was some separation they got away from us a little bit in the second half, and 12 points down, and I was really pleased with our ability to come back at that point. We went small, and actually put Jarrell at the 5, which was, it seems like a gamble, but against them it's not that much of a gamble, because defensively we were pretty good that way. And it gave us some good offensive scoring power, and then Jazz Johnson, creating a different matchup and allowing him to do some things. He got going a little bit, able to make some plays, and like this group has always done is played hard. Even the games where we haven't played as well maybe, but we've played hard, and they were pretty disappointed with the loss afterwards. Felt like we believed we were in position to win. Could have won, should have won, that kind of thing, but could have, should have, would have. And so the team has to sort of circle back and try to get better and move forward.
I was talking with Coach Pfaff in the post game after that one, and said, it'll sting a little bit, this disappointing loss for the players, but I imagined when you went back and did the film sessions, you'll find more things to show them that they did well, and just a couple of things that were the difference. Was that the case when you went back and it was more positive and kind of motivating working through the film session and practice?
Yeah, it was, film is sort of the ultimate sort of test, and you get a check. And I think, to be honest, some of the good things I thought we did weren't quite as good, but then you're right. In terms of the zone defense, I think just the energy, technically there was still room for us to improve on it. They got some good looks, but one of the Boise assistant coaches said it best the next day when he was talking to Coach Pfaff. He said, you guys just did a great job of keeping us out of rhythm. And they're a rhythm team and a rhythm offensive team, and they love running these really good actions, and they kind of like to dice you up, and we kept them out of rhythm, and that's to say a lot. So I was pleased with that. And then, I think you're right. The mistakes were we were just right there. We get an offensive rebound. We got a wide open 3 by Jazz, and he'll knock it down most times. It doesn't go in for him with 1:30 left, and we're down 4. It would have cut it to one, and just then all of a sudden we come down and foul. It just gets away from us. So we had a chance there, made it really interesting, to make it really interesting, and maybe get the win. So the guys were good. We watched a lot of video on this morning. They had a well-deserved day off yesterday. And then we watched some film on this morning, went through some stuff to get ready for Idaho State. But, the games keep coming, so we got to keep getting better.
I noticed, early in the game when you guys went out to that good lead, it was a defense we hadn't really seen very much. And I don't know if it was so much misdirection or more bluffing and recovering. But how would you characterize during that early run, the defensive sequence that you guys were running?
The defense was really I told the guys today it was philosophically very good, technically weak. There was a lot of sort of, looking at it on film, we were making mistakes, but they understood the concept of it, I guess. So I said conceptually, I should say, not philosophically, but conceptually it was strong, in that they knew what we were trying to do and get them off balance and make guys make plays off the dribble. It's a zone, but it's a 1-1-3 of sorts, and we tried to put pressure on them and we don't discern who has the ball. It's very ball oriented. So if a non-shooter has the ball, he gets pressured like he's the best shooter in the country, because the ball is the only thing that can score, and so it was really disorienting for them. They weren't prepared for it. They had a freshman start for some reason, maybe to guard Alec. Quick guard to guard Alec, and they started him, and he was really disrupted by it. And so we were able to knock them out of sorts. And looking back, I think, when they started figuring it out a little bit, and we started, if we could have tried to not lose that lead and maintain that a bit. That was regardless, a good learning opportunity for us at that point.
Portland Pilots Coaches Show with Coach Reveneau here on campus. Reminder to give us a call at 503-542-0910 or on Twitter, #AskCoachRev. We'll take a break, talk a little bit more about Boise State, take a look around the West Coast Conference, and preview another couple home games coming up this week right here at the Child Center. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
The legendary 40-year basketball tradition returns to Portland this December, and you don't want to miss it. Join the University of Portland Pilots and Oregon State Beavers as they celebrate the return of the Far West Classic on December 18th and 19th at the Moda Center. Make the Pilots and the Far West Classic part of your holiday plans. It's fun for the whole family. Get your Far West Classic tickets today by calling the Pilot box office at 503-943-7525 or visit portlandpilots.com.
U.S. Bank provides custom solutions to help you grow your business. Whether you've just started in a friend's apartment.
What do you mean there's no printer?
Or opened your first office.
We have a printer.
Or maybe you've opened a new location.
We have so many printers.
You'll have a business banker there to guide you every step of the way. Visit your local U.S. Bank branch or usbank.com/business. Credit products are subject to normal credit approval and program guidelines. Some restrictions and fees may apply. See your banker for details. Deposit products offered by U.S. Bank, National Association, member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The Reynolds Defense Firm's One Promise. This is McDaniel Reynolds with the Reynolds Defense Firm. We do one thing and we do it very well. We represent good people facing DUI and related criminal charges. Trust is a big deal to me, both personally and professionally. And I believe at the core of trust is a very simple concept. Be genuine. Be genuine in what you say. Be genuine in what you do. And I believe being genuine is what makes the Reynolds Defense Firm so successful. There's no pretense here. What you see is what you get. We do what we say we are going to do, and we don't make promises we can't keep. In fact, there's only one promise we make to our clients because there's only one thing within our complete control. We promise every client we represent that we will do the absolute best we can for them. And since DUI law is our specialty, our absolute best can be pretty amazing. If you or someone you believe in faces a DUI in Multnomah, Washington, or Clackamas County, call the Reynolds Defense Firm today because you want the Reynolds Defense Firm on your side. The Reynolds Defense Firm. We're solid, we're here if you need us, and we are very good at what we do.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Jason Bro here along with Jason Swigart and head coach Eric Reveneau. A reminder, fans, tickets are still available for the upcoming home games tomorrow night right here at the Child Center against Idaho State, 7 p.m. tip-off, and Saturday against a very good Sacramento State squad that we saw a couple times last year. That one is also a 7 p.m. tip on Saturday. Single-game tickets start at $10 for adults, $5 for kids. Get your tickets through Ticketmaster outlets, online, or visit the Pilots box office. Give them a call at 503-943-7525 for package and group discount offers. Visit portlandpilots.com. And revisiting that Saturday Boise State game, Coach, and you mentioned Jazz Johnson made some plays, really had a good second half. He missed some open shots, but I think he did just about everything else pretty well. Talk about his growth in his short time, a true freshman right here, Portland native. Fans are familiar with him. Where have you seen his growth so far?
Just with all the freshmen, it's really been a steep learning curve in terms of conditioning, physical fitness, and defense and rebounding and stuff that as a high school athlete you might not be focused on. As a high school athlete, especially like for Jazz specifically, he's a very good scorer, high-level scorer, knows how to score the ball. We were meeting last week, met with all the players last week just to touch base with them and individually and see what they wanted to talk about. And I said I complimented Jazz how he's really improving on his defense and the concepts, and he's changing his body for the better and physically getting in great shape. And I said, sometimes whether it's a good shot or bad shot, you're a scorer, and so that's not always going to be an easy thing for you to decide whether it's a good shot or when to force it or when to make a play. He goes, yeah, I was kind of brought up that way. I said, brought up that way? I think you're wired that way. I think your DNA. I think it would require surgery for him to get, it's not a lobotomy, but there's some sort of offensive portion of the brain that would have to be rewired for him to think otherwise, which is fine. And as a coach, you don't want to mess with that sort of, when a guy kind of has it, you talk about Luke Sikma as a rebounder or a shot blocker, or, they have it. You don't want to overcoach them, and so when it comes to scoring with Jazz, you don't want to overcoach him. You leave the marginal things, the things that are like, that's kind of a bad shot. You leave those alone, and you just sort of deal with like the whoa, that's a wild shot, and you deal with the ones that are obvious, because you deal in that gray area, it's hard. So in that process of working with him the last couple of months and getting after it, he's picking it up, and he's a competitor. He comes and plays hard every practice, so he just keeps improving and improving.
We'll go to the phone lines. We got our first call from Ed from Camas. Ed, what do you got for Coach Rev?
Hey, Jason. Hey, Coach. How you doing? And Jason, welcome to the Pilots too.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you. You've got an experienced group of assistants, and I'm guessing one of your jobs is probably the responsibilities is the growth and development of your coaches. And during a long season like this, do you need to do that, or and if you do, how do you work with the coaches so that they continue to improve as well?
Great question, and it is one of my responsibilities to help them improve and grow, and and so I'm constantly trying to put them in situations to do that. And it's interesting. It's a management position in a lot of ways, and we're also trying to just sort of maximize our team in the office. Kramer Knutsen's been a great addition. He's a great glue guy, if you will. He holds everything together. He's our liaison to the outside world. We're a little rough and tumble sometimes in our little office, and we like to be easy to help and easy for people to help us. We got great support on campus, and Kramer helps with that, and he wants to be a coach. So I include him in your question and sort of giving him opportunities to be around the basketball and learn and be a coach someday. And then you go with Coach Jackson. His role. I mean, I've tried to give him some more actually this year non-basketball responsibilities with the departure of Coach Wolf and things that I had taken on, whether it's marketing or facilities and all these things that fall under what I call critical non-essentials. Things that, like, if your travel's not organized, you can lose a game. And so overseeing those things, and not because and the funny thing is, it's really just for him to sort of get brushed back up on. He's got great experience, and he can do all this stuff. It's just a matter of him, getting more experience doing that, working within it. And then so when he's ready to be a head coach, Coach Jackson should be a head coach, and so he has that sort of on his resume. And coaching wise, I'm very comfortable with him taking the lead on a lot of things. Coach Pfaff, I guess I'm just giving you examples of things that we're doing. And Coach Pfaff, this morning he had a nice little lecture to the team, and I let him. He just led it. And it was what do we call it? It was the lost actions of motion. It was the title of this. I gave him the title.
It's a thesis.
I gave him the title of the speech or the presentation, and he gave the presentation. I said, I want you to present to the team the lost action of our motion. So parts of our motion that we have taught, we haven't seen in a while. Where have they gone? And so he did that today, and he's really good on some offensive stuff and some scouting. Coach Johnson is really good and just sort of learning the ins and outs, and he's our liaison with strength and conditioning and the training room and a lot of the player stuff. Coach Pfaff also helps Kramer on academics. So all these things I just listed off a sort of random examples maybe, but things that they're trying to do. And because that's what I did at Stanford for 9 years. I sort of did everything at one time or another, whether it was scheduling or travel or the defense or post play. I did a lot of different things, and you learn over that. So then when it's your turn to make the calls, you've had the experience.
Hey, thanks a lot, Coach, and good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. We'll see you out at the Child Center tomorrow.
Okay, Jason.
Coach at Boise State, and we talked a little bit about revisiting Jazz Johnson, and I had a chance to talk with Coach Brad Scott earlier today, who's a strength and conditioning coach, athletic performance director, works very closely with your team, sometimes traveling with them. And I said, Coach, I noticed he's kind of changed his body a little bit, as you mentioned. And he said he's always been a hard worker. It's kind of learning more of like the eating habits and different things like that. But he said when he got here, he gained a little bit of weight in terms of muscle, and then they've really figured it out. He's almost dropped 25 pounds. He increased his vertical leap by about 7 inches since the summer. Those are the kind of examples where you can actually see it in how it manifests itself in him becoming a better basketball player.
Yeah, no, it's he did gain some weight when he first got here. So and I watch it for how he moves and how he sustains it. He's a hard worker. So actually in practice, he's never had a problem sustaining an effort, but his quality of effort, his second and third reps late in the practice have improved a lot, and so he can sustain the effort longer. And it just, he's just, I don't know how to say this, but you feel bad for a college kid that has to watch what he eats. It's sort of like in college, can't you just, especially a college athlete, can't you just, But all our guys, and Coach Scott takes the lead on this. Coach Johnson's helped a little bit this year, but Coach Scott takes the lead. It's just education. It's just they got to make choices, and they're working out all the time, so they feel like they can eat. That was my problem for a while. Is like I was watching them work out, so I felt like I could eat. That was a hard workout. Boy, those guys worked hard. I'll have another one. Give me some more lasagna. That's good. Garlic bread, sure. But and then some of it's 3 bottles of orange juice isn't the proper way to hydrate yourself, and just some of those things, and just educationally, food here with Bon Appetit. We're at the Pilot House tonight, but the Commons where they eat all the time, or they eat here, is there's a lot of great food, but you got to make the right choices. And so he's learned that, and Coach Scott has helped him with it, and he's doing great.
All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back, talk a little bit about the West Coast Conference, some exciting stuff going on with UP Athletics that we'll get to, and look ahead to the 2 upcoming games against Idaho State and Sac State. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
On the 12th day of December, Krispy Kreme gave to me 1 dozen original glazed donuts. Krispy Kreme is celebrating the Day of the Dozens. This Saturday, December 12th, swing by Krispy Kreme and get 1 dozen original glazed donuts for free when you purchase a dozen original glazed donuts. Beaverton, Clackamas, and Clark County Krispy Kreme locations are celebrated. Check out Krispy Kreme Portland on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Find your nearest location at KrispyKreme.com. That's KrispyKreme.com.
What if there were a place where you could become your best self? To become not just what you want to be, but who you want to be. At University of Portland, we inspire innovators, entrepreneurs, leaders, difference makers, people with the smarts to succeed and the heart to know what success really means. University of Portland. Rise.
Some things you can't control, like going in for seconds a third time.
Good.
Or the fact that all 6 kinds of Meemaw's cookies are so delicious. Or the storm that blows in right before your long drive home. But you can be sure your tires have enough traction to get you where you're going, no matter what Mother Nature has in store. At Les Schwab, we have the tires you need, backed by our best tire value promise. That should settle your stomach, at least until you break into those leftovers.
Oh boy.
Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Stay ahead of the flu, a cold, or anything else going around this season and get vaccinated at Bi-Mart. Our pharmacy is your one-stop shop for everything you need to keep your family healthy, including flu shots. The best way to prevent the flu is to get vaccinated early. We have 2 types of flu vaccines currently available. Just check with the pharmacists at your neighborhood Bi-Mart for days and times. Call or stop by today. Get ready for your flu season at Bi-Mart.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
All right, fans, remember you can call in with questions 503-542-0910 or send us questions on Twitter using hashtag AskCoachRev. And we go to Twitter now. And, Coach, we got to put you on the spot here, but from Chris on Twitter, who's the best player you've ever coached and coached against?
Coached and coached against. Who I've coached is interesting. There's a list that includes Casey Jacobson, Josh Childress, Jaron Jason Collins, Curtis Borchardt, all first-round draft picks. And of the best players, Casey was really good. Josh Childress was probably maybe in college. Most game-changing, a versatile 3 and a big. The Collins twins, God, if you take them as a package, they'd win for sure. The 2 of them, the Collins twins, they were great. They were the kind of players that made you better as a coach. Like you kind of half say something correctly in the huddle, and they'd walk out and do it perfectly. And they worked, of course, really well together. They were fun to coach. Casey Jacobson just finished up a great NBA career. You see him doing his TV stuff now. So I'd say Josh or Casey probably. But as I do that, I've got to mention T.J. Campbell, because T.J. Campbell was a special player. At 5'7", he was
wait, I think he was listed at 5'10", Coach. Are you calling me a liar?
No, I'm calling you. Yes, I am.
He had tall shoes.
In short, yes. Because I love it, because I asked him. I said, TJ, how tall are you? This is when I first met him. His main car. How tall are you? I said 5'8". He goes, no, 5'7". He corrected me and called it 5'7". And you still could throw lobs to him, and he could dunk, and he was such a physical. He was such an unselfish point guard, and he really, as a point guard, he really just was just as happy hitting the open man, hitting Jared Stoll for a three as he was knocking down a three. It's almost like he liked it more. He loved throwing lobs to Kramer. If he could get Kramer a dunk, he was just as happy, and he was a special player that way. And to be honest, my one regret with his career is that to help him learn when to take over a game more. That if we had, his personality was such a facilitator. He was capable, and when he got pissed off, but when he got upset, you didn't want to. He meant business, but you have to tell him, okay, you got to create something here, and to help him learn when those moments would have been good. But so he's a special player. Who I've coached against, gosh, Eddie House, guys that had big games. And I remember Eddie House at Arizona, Ike Diago at Arizona State, all the Arizona guys. Luke Walton, you've seen him with the coach at the Warriors. I was thinking the other night watching him with the Warriors, what they're doing, what a great passer he was as a player and different things. So I've coached against some really good ones, and those are good too. Like Anthony Drimmick the other night from Boise State, a really good player. It's fun to play against really good players, and then really good players that sort of they bring out your best. Like I'm looking at Anthony Drimmick go against Bryce Presley, and Bryce Presley's a very good player. I'm saying that's a very good matchup, and Jason Todd mixing it up in there. So we like playing those great players as well.
You mentioned T.J. Campbell, really a program changer when he came on. That started that 3-year run of 20-plus wins. He's since gone on to have a very good professional career over in Europe. He had some highlight moments, winning some EuroLeague games at the buzzer, so definitely a big game player. And the West Coast Conference has been known as a point guards league for so long. Gonzaga's had many all the way down. Every program has had some. And now you have one that's right up there, a preseason all-conference player, Alec Wintering, and you kind of mentioned TJ maybe never learning how to take over a game. I think what we're seeing right now, Alec as a junior is figuring that out when he needs to take over a game.
Yeah, no, he definitely knows. And tomorrow night, I know we'll talk a little bit about Iowa State. Tomorrow night with their zone and everything, picking those moments, and change his speed and things that he's learning to be able to change his pace and attack differently. It's definitely a guards league in a lot of ways. And you think about it, it makes sense because with the high major programs, getting big guys, going one and done, having to reload with big guys. And that's why a lot of the programs at our level, and I say our level, I don't mean that disparaging at all. Our league is top 10 league in the country, and there's 34 leagues. And so you're right below the BCS level leagues. But at this little niche level here, we've got to get really good quality players. And the guards are the guys that sometimes fall through the cracks a little bit, the guys that develop late. T.J. Campbell was a junior college player out of Arizona. He likes to say he had an offer or two from somewhere else, but I wasn't so sure, And I looked and watched him play, and I watched him play pickup. I'm like, told Coach Sabaka, who'd been tracking him, I say, Joel, am I missing something here? What's the deal here? Is he on probation for something, or what's the nicest kid ever? Not an issue.
Well, and I think talk about getting ready for Idaho State and the teams that Portland State and Boise State, all really with a little different defensive look, and having somebody like Alec at the point to really start deciphering that and understanding where those things are. I think the teammates around him, what can they do to help Alec once he's got it figured out to present themselves and give him the lanes and the options that we know he can take advantage of?
Exactly right. I think if you look at it, one level deeper from a sort of a technical standpoint, what we can do better offensively, it's score around the basket and, get to the free throw line. We're not getting to the free throw line. It's really free throw line. We were talking early in the season. We were talking about rebounding being really bad, and now my rallying cry is finishing around the basket and getting to the free throw line. Our overall stats right now, teams have made more free throws against us than we have shot. And that's challenging to come up against. It puts a lot of pressure on you. And so Alec is up there, and you're exactly right. Alec's seeing what's going on. They're going to play that matchup zone tomorrow. We're gonna run some man plays against it, and Alec's seeing it and how to execute. Because when you run a man play against a matchup, you've got to make some adjustments. But it's not too hard. But having a good feel to do it well, and then we got to get the ball inside at different times. We don't have a good feel. We figured out real quick when to shoot the open three. That wasn't too hard. We got
Never
that,
is.
We got that one figured out. And we even figured out when to shoot the contested three, and so we've done some of that. But to get the ball inside, where maybe all of a sudden Phillip ducks, and our posts are doing a nice job of ducking and becoming available, and Ray ducks, get him the ball. We opened the Boise State game. We got it to him a couple times. He made some shots. We ran the high pick and roll with his guy defending, and here comes a good-looking group of three guys right now. Look at those guys. Look at them. Boy,
Rashad, Cher, and Colin Russell are going to go eat the healthy items off the menu.
Yeah, exactly.
Salads all
Cher
around.
in particular.
Oh, yeah. There's some self-promotion going on.
So, excuse us.
We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about Dead Week, Finals Week coming up, a little bit more about the program and what UP Athletics has going on, and then once again a look ahead to Idaho State and Sac State. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland.
Mom, Dad, we need to talk. I know college will be expensive, but the Oregon College Savings Plan can help. Did you know you could save on your taxes while you save for my college? Any earnings and qualified withdrawals are tax-free.
You can even get a state tax deduction.
Sweet!
Are you saving for college? It helps if you have a plan. With the Oregon College Savings Plan, you can get an Oregon State income tax deduction of over $4,500 for 2015. Plus, when you use the money for qualified college expenses, any earnings are both state and federal tax-free. So for more information, go to OregonCollegeSavings.com.
Now, about my allowance.
The plan is administered by the state of Oregon. Consider the investment objectives, risks, and expenses before investing in the plan. Go to OregonCollegeSavings.com for a disclosure booklet and read it carefully. Investments in the plan are not guaranteed, and there is the risk of investment loss. Non-qualified withdrawals may be subject to taxes and penalties. State tax advantages subject to recapture provisions. Consult your tax advisor.
Some things you can't control, like that epic traffic in the mall parking lot. Or the fussy triplets waiting behind you at the only register. Or the wet rock-filled shortcut you take home that leads to this. A flat tire. But you're not worried. Your Les Schwab tires are backed by their best tire value promise. So you'll get free flat repairs, free pre-trip safety checks, equal value replacements, and more for the life of your tires. Even the triplets would appreciate that. Les Schwab tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Honey, why does the doorbell ring when I turn on the kitchen lights?
I rewired that. It should work now.
No, it doesn't.
Don't rely on short-term fixes that need long-term solutions. A U.S. Bank home equity line of credit may help turn the equity in your home into lasting improvements. Visit a U.S. Bank branch, usbank.com/dreambig, or call 800-209-BANK.
Home sweet normal home.
Some restrictions may apply, subject to credit approval. Mortgage and home equity products offered through U.S. Bank, National Association, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Joined by Jason Swigart and Coach Reveneau. And, Coach, this is a busy time on campus and somewhat stressful time for students on campus. Dead week this week, finals week next week. Oh, and if you're a basketball player, we've got a crucial stretch of games coming up leading into WCC play. What's kind of the coaching philosophy over these next couple weeks?
Well, first of all, if you look around the Pilot House right now, it doesn't look too stressed here. I mean, it looks like a college campus should be.
This is the relief zone.
Yeah, exactly. They're sort of letting off some steam, I guess. But maybe it's our entertainment. I don't know.
Doubt it.
The 2 weeks is really interesting because I told the guys this morning we've got league. We play LMU 2 weeks from tonight. In between, we've got 8 practices, 4 games. And I said, I think there's something going on with school. Is that right? What do we got going with school? You guys got classes? And so they got class. And it's something that we've been preaching, for lack of a better word, is, getting prepared for this time in October, November, because like every student, if there's students out there that are going, oh, shoot, I should have been better in November, you're paying the price now. But basketball players and student athletes don't have that luxury. Like, Bryce Presley can't pull an all-nighter at night and then expect to do what he wants to do tomorrow. And so they've got to be on top of it. Whereas there might be a student here in the Pilot House tonight that, that's going to pull an all-nighter and then turn something in and then sleep it off and wake, and just sort of get through. But it's hard as a student athlete, and so we really try to talk about rest, nutrition, taking care of themselves, and staying on top of things, and then try to be smart, try to help them out and not practice too much, but stay sharp, be efficient. We watched a fair amount of video because their brains are still active. They'll turn to mush by Thursday or Friday, and then we'll have to recharge them at occasion.
I would imagine, though, practices over this time, guys might be looking forward to it a little bit more than maybe they do other times of the season, just as a reprieve from having their nose buried in books.
Yeah, and today was a mental practice, so today was not a good dead week in final practice because I knew I could still do it. But a week from now in practice, they will be looking forward to just playing. So do some games where they just play, whether you're doing 3-on-3 or some full court or 3-on-2, 2-on-1 continuous type stuff where they're breaking a sweat. I've heard coaches say it's not like you're going to study all 24 hours. It's good to all these other students should be going over to the Beauchamp Rec Center and getting a workout in also, and so I think that would be, so I think there is that element to it. The thing is to be smart, and you don't want, today we did a lot of walkthrough and stuff with the zone and some stuff that was not, guys were great. The reason I comment is because how good the guys were concentrating and working through it. I was trying to save their legs, because we've been coming through the stretch, but now it's going to be sort of saving their brains a little bit, getting that sweat, get DJ Kramer Crame on the DJ Kramer Crame on the iPad, pumping the music.
He gets so nervous about what he puts on there.
Yeah,
it's just the big things that matter.
Yeah, his big thing is making sure it's that family friendly version of the latest song. And the sad thing is they could be saying whatever. I have no idea. I have no idea.
You don't quite decipher.
I'm like, can we get some AC/DC going in here? Can we get something?
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, U2 maybe. I don't know. Rolling Stones. I don't know.
Portland Pilots Coaches Show here on campus at the University of Portland's Pilot House, and academics, as we mentioned, big part of what's coming up, and not just at the University of Portland, but up and down the West Coast conference, faith-based institutions that take a high priority in academics, but as you mentioned earlier, also very good basketball conference. But early in the year, the WCC teams got off to kind of a slow start. The last week or so, some better results. St. Mary's right there. It doesn't matter if they lose 5 starters. Randy Bennett has them going. They're 6-0. Gonzaga doing what they're doing. And then kind of maybe the most surprising result this weekend, San Diego beats San Diego State in a game played at Petco Park outside. And that's a big win for Coach Smith, his first year down with the Toreros.
Yeah, it's a good win regardless. Congratulations to him. New coach. They struggled at some games early, but, every program we've talked about, every program kind of has their act together. Playing in Petco Arena, which is a baseball arena. I don't even know what it's called. Ballpark. That's what they call them. That's what they call them in that sport. Ballpark.
That's why you're a basketball coach.
Yeah, they call it ballparks. So it was a windy day in San Diego. The second half shooting was down. San Diego State had 13 points in the first half.
To be fair, San Diego State hasn't really been tearing up the nets all year long either. My brother-in-law goes there. I direct him.
It's got to have an asterisk by it when you play it outside.
It's a win. It helps the RPI.
Yeah, good talk. Good talk there. You're exactly right.
Well, I wonder, too, at what point, obviously, the conference team so well, haven't played them so often over the years, but at what point are you really starting to focus in on what these teams are doing, even though you still have got a handful of non-conference games left?
Well, great question, and I always kind of check the scores, but I don't pay too much attention. There's probably not a listener listening right now that hasn't seen Gonzaga more than I have. It's just not very good investment of my time, and I watched half their game in Japan. I guess I didn't miss much for the second half. But I followed a little bit. Yesterday I made a point to turn on the LMU Riverside game. and just watched them, and LMU switching their defense and doing some things, and I just get a quick feel because we play them in 2 weeks, and so I'll start watching a little bit. It's really what I told the guys is this early season stuff. It really does feel like a race against them in terms of the improvement, So San Francisco got beat by Montana by 30. We got beat by Boise. And I told the guys, okay, so those are two results that are unrelated, but what are each of those individual teams going to do with that? What's Montana going to do what's San Francisco going to do in response to that Montana loss? Is that going to bring them together? Is that going to make them better? Is that going to make them tougher when we play there on December 31st? Or are we going to grow between now and then? And so just trying to improve. The guys want to win games, and they've even expressed that to me. They want to win along the way, but they get that conference play is really what it's about. If we whatever happens in non-conference, we go 500 in non-conference, we want to win them all. But if we go 900 and then we end up in second place in the league or first place or go to the NCAA tournament, I don't think anyone's going to remember a non-conference record.
We'll take our final break here with Coach Revenue on the Portland Pilots Coaches Show. You're listening to 910 ESPN Portland.
Providence Wellness Watch from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute on PlaySmart Heart Screenings for young people.
Most kids' hearts are healthy, thank goodness. But a small number of kids will have hidden heart defects that you wouldn't know about unless you did testing. PlaySmart is a free screening program for kids ages 12 through 18. We perform a blood pressure measurement, an electrocardiogram. It takes less than 10 minutes, painless, non-invasive, and it gives cardiologists a lot of information so that we can assess risk. Hidden heart defects are not common, but we want to know about them. All kids can be at risk, and therefore we want to give all kids the opportunity to have a free screening. We want our kids to stay active throughout the school year and throughout the summer, so now's a great time to get screened and to learn more about your heart.
To learn more about Providence Heart and Vascular Institute's PlaySmart Screenings for kids ages 12 to 18, visit playsmartgetscreened.org.
Your Lucky Number Tuesday just got better. We're giving away over $1 million in Buy Mart gift cards. This holiday season, check the Lucky Number board on Tuesdays at the Buy Mart you signed up in to see if you're a winner. Starting November 24th, you'll have a chance to win either a $100 or $250 gift card every Tuesday in each store. If you're not already a member, a lifetime Buy Mart membership is only $5. Get ready for your holiday season with Lucky Number Tuesday at Buy Mart.
The legendary 40-year basketball tradition returns to Portland this December, and you don't want to miss it. Join the University of Portland Pilots and Oregon State Beavers as they celebrate the return of the Far West Classic on December 18th and 19th at the Moda Center. Make the Pilots and the Far West Classic part of your holiday plans. It's fun for the whole family. Get your Far West Classic tickets today by calling the Pilot box office at 503-943-7525 or visit portlandpilots.com.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Revenue on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Here with Jason Swigard and Coach Eric Revenue for our final segment on the Portland Pilots Coaches Show. And it's an exciting announcement out of the UP Athletic Department, partnering with Comcast Sportsnet. Been doing Portside with the Pilots, which is a news magazine show once a month, but aired our first game internally produced yesterday against Boise State. That's one of 8 games, including 1 men's basketball game, 4 baseball games, and 3 women's basketball games coming up. So a great partnership, great package there. And as you extend that even further with the West Coast Conference, ESPN relationships up and down the West Coast and the big media markets, how much of a benefit is that for you in terms of going out in the recruiting process?
It's fantastic. We Portside with the Pilots, the show, the quality of our streaming, the quality of the streaming around the conference. I popped on that LMU Riverside game, and I think our crew's the best. But across the league, they sort of maintained a certain standard. A few years ago, the details more than I do, where they set the standard of what we're going to do, and it's really good. And recruiting, it's nice. We got 2 international recruits coming in this weekend. And we're going to give them a presentation, and they'll meet with your crew of guys and talk to them about how they can stay connected with our team. And I still don't get the Pac-12 network at home. I still can't, sometimes, and so so I think our games, the variety of ways that you can get our games is really fantastic.
A couple other UP Athletics notes, not in the basketball realm, but it does kind of touch over with basketball. We're going to have Corey Tilke on next week live with us. He's going to make a run. He went from being a 4-year basketball player to in 1 year training with the track team and earning All-America honors in the 400-meter run. Now he's going to make a push to try to qualify for the Rio Olympics. So it'll be really exciting and fun to catch up with Corey. And one other note, former women's cross-country alum Lindy Davis qualified for Olympic team trials marathon. She ran a 2-hour and 42-minute marathon, and I know you've had some experience with some half marathons. How impressive is that?
My half marathon time, I beat her.
You got her.
I got her. I would have had to kick. No, mine was just at 2 hours, so I didn't. No, just for the record, I wasn't 2 hours and 40 minutes, but no, my thing is, that's impressive. There's a point in a half marathon where you go left and they go right, and I'm so thankful. I have no part of me. Like someone says that they want to go right. God, I really felt. I'm like, nope. I want to get this baby done. I am so good. You guys go get them.
So congratulations to both Lindy and then Corey. We'll visit with Corey next week. But looking ahead to this week and a big one tomorrow, quick turnaround. It just seems like these games are stacking up right on top of each other. What can we expect out of the Idaho State game tomorrow?
They are very perimeter oriented. They've got 3 guards that really light it up. Coach Johnson has done the scouting report, and I've sat just before I came over here this evening. I was watching their matchup zone again, trying to figure out the rules. It's hard to do. Maybe they're gonna adjust on the fly to what we do. They've got, and the thing is to make sure you're not hesitant against it. Zones like that, like our zone the other night, might not be good, but if it gets teams to be hesitant and to read it, especially with the new 3-second shot clock, it's to your advantage, just 5 seconds, but just to your advantage. We've had more shot clock violations this year, created more shot clock violations than we have in the past, and changing defenses. We're playing more 3-quarter court pressure. Well, Idaho State does that as well, and so I'm very confident because we got Alec and Bryce and our guards that are veteran guards to read that stuff, but it's challenging. The way a team like this comes in and upsets you is they disrupt you, and your open shots aren't falling, and theirs are falling, and then the second thing they do besides shoot the 3 is they create a lot of turnovers. They're very aggressive, great hands, and they're creating turnovers. So all of a sudden they're making 3s, getting some steals. You're missing open shots, and it's a bad formula. What we've got to do is defend, make their shots contested, get out and run so that their defense can't get set. Get high percentage stuff at the basket, knock down open shots, and control the game from the start.
You mentioned that. They like to get the turnover. They have been getting turnovers, but they have been prone to turning it over quite a bit so far this season. Just how important will the defensive end, and are we going to expect to see pressure? You had that 1-1-3 kind of extended trapping zone. Are we going to see more pressure like that?
We can. They do turn it over. I was looking at that as well, and you're exactly right. And we're doing very well turning people over and getting steals, and that's because we're mixing things up, because we have players that have a good ability to do that. And I think tomorrow one of the things to look at is how we handle on balls. What do we do with their on balls? And also we could mix the zones up and stuff. And I would lean toward being aggressive against them, like you're saying.
And then quickly, Saturday, Sacramento State, a team we're familiar with from last year, well-coached team. We got them in a close one at their place. They came back up for the collegeinsider.com tournament and got a win. And a good start for them, a win at Arizona State. They're 5-2. They split against UC Davis. What can we expect Saturday?
A very well-coached team, changing defenses, similar thing. They're a scary opponent, really well-coached, talented players. The program is doing really well right now.
Well, thanks, Coach Reveneau. Jason Swigart, thanks for coming down and joining us here. We're looking forward to a great call. Good season with you on the call on 910 ESPN Portland. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back here again next week, but make sure you come out to the Child Center tomorrow, 7 p.m. versus Sac State, and Saturday, tomorrow, Idaho State, Saturday at 7 p.m. Sac State. You've been listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
This has been Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show was brought to you by employee-owned Weimart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by PlaySmart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Join us for University of Portland basketball all season long on the home of the Pilots, 910 ESPN Portland. 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 910 ESPN